Well, welcome back.
Welcome, welcome. The purpose of today's lesson is for you to be able to use the term absolute value to describe the distance from zero on the number line. But before we do that, we're going to have a clear understanding of what integers are. And we talked about integers in our number systems video. And to review, integers consisted of negative integers, zero, and positive integers. So the first thing I'd like you to do is look at this Venn diagram, and we're going to talk about the similarities and differences between negative numbers and positive numbers. Let's start off by talking about the difference between negative numbers and positive numbers. Positive numbers are whole numbers, and if you remember from our number system video, whole numbers are numbers greater than zero. So on our number line down here, here's zero, and all the numbers greater than zero are positive numbers. Negative numbers are numbers less than zero. So right here are all of our negative numbers. And then zero is neither positive or negative. However, it is still an integer. Another difference is positive numbers are numbers to the right of zero on the number line, which we just showed with our arrow. And negative numbers are numbers to the left of zero on the number line, which we showed over here as well. Another difference is positive numbers have no sign in front of the number. So right here, 5 is a positive number. Notice there's no sign in front of it. However, negative 5 is a negative number, and there's a negative sign in front of it. The last difference is positive numbers increase in value on the number line, where negative numbers decrease in value on the number line. So really, on a number line with negative numbers, the further you go to the left on the number line, you're actually getting smaller in value. So if I were looking at negative 5 and negative 4, negative 5 is less than negative 4 because it's actually further from 0 on the number line. And then to talk about what they have in common, both negative numbers and positive numbers can be graphed on a number line. And both negative numbers and positive numbers are rational numbers. Remember, a rational number is a number that can be written as a fraction. So if I'm talking about a positive 4, I can represent it as a fraction by putting it over 1. Because remember, that just means 4 divided by 1, and it's still the integer 4. Or if I'm talking about a negative number, negative 3, I can write it as a fraction or represent it as a rational number by putting it over 1, because anything divided by 1 is itself. And then finally, the last thing that they have in common is that both negative numbers and positive numbers are integers. Go ahead and pause the video now and see if you can fill in these blanks. So you should have filled in that negative integers are integers less than 0 and positive integers are integers greater than 0. Did you get that? Nice work. Now let's see if you can identify which of these numbers are integers. Go ahead and circle which of these numbers you think are integers, and then we'll see if you got them right. Here are the numbers you should have circled. Negative 5 is an integer because it's a negative number. It's less than 0. 0 is an integer. Now it's not a negative number or a positive number, but it is an integer. 1/2, 2.7, and 9 1/4 are not integers because they can all be written as decimals. 110 is an integer. It's a positive number. And finally, 6.0. Now you're probably thinking, well, you said that these are not integers because they are decimals. And that's correct. However, this decimal 6.0 can be simplified to just the whole number or integer 6. And now let's see if you can explain whether negative 1.2 is an integer or not. Good mathematicians are able to explain their reasoning. Go ahead and try that one. Now all of our explanations are going to be a little bit different, but how I think of it is that no, negative 1.2, although it is less than 0, it's not an integer because the 2 in the tenths place value makes this a terminating decimal, not an integer. And we're really going to work on this year getting good at explaining our reasoning. So if you're not confident with how you explained it, you can go ahead and copy down my explanation. All right, let's go on to the next section. In this section, we are going to use integers that represent real-world situations. So our first example says a gain of 4 yards. The key word here is gain, and so that's going to be a positive 4. 8 degrees above 0, above is our key word there, so that would be a positive 8. A withdraw of $100 from the bank. Now that means you're taking money out of your account. So we are taking out $100. So withdraw is represented as a negative number in math. A fall of 10 feet would be a negative 10. All right, see if you can come up with your own real-world integers situations for negative 5 and 20. My 2 examples were that I owe my sister $5. The key word here is owe. That represents a negative number in math. And I earned $20 for chores this month. Earned means that I gained that amount, so that would be a positive 20. Now that we've reviewed integers, let's move on to absolute value. Absolute value is a number's distance from 0. 2 important points you want to remember about absolute value is that it's always going to be positive because you could never have a negative distance. You haven't heard someone say, I traveled negative 5 miles today. You don't use negative when you're talking about distance. And then in math, we use the absolute value symbol, which looks like this. So anytime you see this symbol, it's asking you, how far is this number inside the absolute value symbol away from 0? What's the distance that this number is from 0 on the number line? When we're graphing on a number line, we're always going to start at 0. And what do we call the distance between a number and 0 on a number line? That's absolute value. So let me explain it with 7 and negative 7. On the number line, here's 7. So the distance from 0 to 7 on the number line is 7 units. Here's negative 7. The distance from 0 on the number line to negative 7 is also 7 units. So the relationship between 7 and negative 7 is that the absolute value of 7 is 7, and the absolute value of negative 7 is also 7, because they are both 7 units away from 0 on the number line. Go ahead and pause your video to try this last section in your notes. So remember, absolute value is the distance from 0 on the number line, and it's always going to be positive. So how far is 5 from 0 on the number line? 5 units. How far is negative 1,000 from 0 on the number line? 1,000 units. And how far is 85 from 0 on the number line? 85. Evaluate, graph, and label each point on the number line. We first have to evaluate it. So point A, they want us to graph 6. Well, that's just the integer 6, so that's right here. However, for this one, point B, we have to evaluate the absolute value of negative 3 first. So remember, absolute value is the distance from 0 on the number line. So negative 3 is 3 units from 0 on the number line. So I'm actually going to graph point B at 3, not negative 3 because of the absolute value symbol. Now, however, point C, negative 3, I'm going to plot that at negative 3 because it doesn't have the absolute value symbol around the negative 3. And then finally point D, the absolute value of 8. We're going to evaluate that first asking ourselves how far is 8 from 0 on the number line. It's 8 units, and so we're going to graph 8. So point A was 6, that's this one. Point B was 3, which was that one. -3 is C, and point D is 8. C bad. All right, thank you for watching today's video, and we will see you in class.